child. On January 4th, 6 survivors were transported to the Arizona Burn Center aboard a C-17 military plane. They carried great strength with them. One was even connected to our family, as it is the case in Hawaii, where 1 degree of separation is all that there is between a victim of a crime or an incident. It's just extraordinary how close-knit we are as a community, and that's why it touches everyone. So they showed great spirit, and our Adjutant General will unpack how that transfer was enabled, basically. This life-saving mission, though, was testament to a collaboration between civilian authorities, U.S. military support. They provided incredible groundwork for the air transport to keep 6 people alive. These individuals, 5 I believe, went from Queens, 1 from Straub, had injuries even beyond their burns. And that's one additional reason why when we have the opportunity to share the capacity to care for people, we do nationally. We are always even prepared to do more than our share and our part if someone else needs us. So from Queens and Straub, these patients were transported by military ambulances, including a specialized ambulance bus to Joint Base Pearl Harbor, and then a C-17 Globemaster III aircraft piloted by members of the Hawaii National Guard, I believe, carried them to Arizona. But further details can be unpacked by our team. So we owe a debt of gratitude to the U.S. military, to the Air National Guard, everyone who made that mission possible. And why do you do these things? Because you want to save lives. And we typically can care for a lot of different kinds of injuries, but we also prepare for what comes next. As you know, there was a fire just a couple days after January 1, which required even more care. And needless to say, Straub and Queens are always caring for huge numbers of patients in their ICUs. So it's something to underscore. So we have to do more to keep our people safe. We are going to have to pull back from aerials. We are just going to have to do that as a society, and people are going to have to make the decision to not buy these illegal fireworks, to not try to import them, to not try to get them past authorities. It's just unsafe. And whether or not we can change societal behavior remains to be seen. But you're going to hear from the Attorney General here in a moment about some of the things we're going to do. We are proposing significant enhancements in the penalties so that we can literally enhance sentencing to Class B and A felonies if people are killed when these fireworks go off, even accidentally. It has to stop. We'll do anything that we can. Any ideas that people come up with, we'd be happy to entertain. We believe that if we have more public fireworks shows and include society more, maybe it will damp it down a little bit. But we've also heard from people saying in just the day after we lost loved ones, that they still intended to have big fireworks shows in their communities. And I just tell you, I don't think you should do it. I really don't think you should do it because it will not be safe. So we're going to better define what a firework is, make it simpler so that we can actually prosecute individuals that make the wrong decision to have these enormous explosions going off on our streets. We did already take some action. We have our sheriff's team here, Department of Law Enforcement. They've already done an amnesty event, which was very good. It collected 1,374.2 pounds of illegal fireworks right away. So we're going to keep collecting fireworks. We're going to collect guns. We're going to do what we can. But even that is going to be a small fraction of what is historically going off in the sky on 4th of July and on New Year's especially. Like I said, we're going to revamp the penalty structures. We're going to continue to work with everyone who can provide trauma services. The Department of Health is also providing some additional behavioral health support and counseling to those families and neighborhoods that lost individuals. I walked up and down the street where the explosion occurred, talking to all the families that were there, and many of them were traumatized. The people that were just 1 or 2 doors down from the explosion were absolutely shocked. I mean, they were in shock still. And I will tell you, it's going to take a long time, especially when these dear people survive and come back to the community with tragic injuries. Their injuries are going to be a reminder of what will happen again and again if we don't decide as a society to just have public fireworks shows and not do this. So please extend your compassion to them. When they return to our community, it will be months for many of them before they are fully out of the hospital. I'm concerned some individuals could still pass. We have to be very gentle about the descriptions we give today about the individuals that are still in the hospital, because they deserve some privacy, of course. But we do want to share the extent of the concern. We'll also talk in time a little bit about further amping up some of our capacity to move patients around, and we're always going to be supportive of our burn center, which is extraordinary at Straub, and our trauma center, which is just top-notch over at Queens. So I'll pause there. We'll have the experts come, and then we'll have questions.
Mahalo, Governor. Up next, State Attorney General Ann Lopez.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm committed to working with the governor and the legislature in stamping out the use of illegal fireworks in the state of Hawaii. While education is going to play an important role, law enforcement and prosecutors will provide the necessary deterrence for those who are thinking about breaking the law. My department has drafted comprehensive legislation that clarifies and streamlines Hawaii's fireworks law so that prosecutors can convict people faster and more successfully. This bill also provides for a wide range of penalties depending on the seriousness of the offense. Prison sentences for current crimes will be enhanced, and as the governor mentioned, we have sentencing enhancements for those offenders who cause the serious injury or death of another individual. But going after the most serious offenders is not going to be what solves the problem. Individuals who purchase fireworks, even in small amounts, the end users create the illicit market. This bill creates a mechanism for law enforcement to provide tickets with financial penalties to the lowest level offenders. Those are the broad strokes, and of course, as the legislation continues, we'll have more details. In the meantime, I'd like to thank Governor Green and Representative Scott Matayoshi for their leadership in this effort. And in particular, I'd like to point out my deputy, Tricia Nakamatsu, who's here today, who has worked tirelessly over the last 2 weeks to get this legislation in place. Thank you.
Mahalo, A.G. Lopez. Up next, State Adjutant Major General Stephen Logan.
Hey, good morning. I would like to first add my thoughts, prayers, and condolences to the victims and the families of the victims from this dreadful event. On the 1st of January at about 3:55 p.m., Governor Green contacted me and stated that some of the patients involved in the early morning Honolulu fireworks tragedy suffered significant burn injuries and would need to be transported to a mainland burn treatment center via military aircraft. I immediately activated the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency and the Hawaii National Guard Joint Staff to begin staffing functions. Through that staffing, it was determined that the en route care that was necessary to transport the critically injured patients exceeded the medical treatment capabilities of the Hawaii National Guard. I contacted Major General Furrow, who is a former Hawaii Air National Guard F-22 instructor pilot and currently serves as the mobilization assistant to the commander of Indo-Pacific Command so that concurrent staffing could commence. I then contacted State Department of Health Director Fink and discussed the need to submit a request for assistance through the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency so that that document could reach Indo-PACOM. On January 4th, as Governor Green articulated, the 6 patients were subsequently transported to Arizona. In Hawaii, we're fortunate to be co-located with the Indo-Pacific Command and its military service component commands. Together, we regularly participate in events within our state and throughout the Indo-Pacific with our allies and partners. This strong relationship directly contributed to the efficiency in which this mission was both approved and executed. Thank you very much.
Mahalo, Adjutant Major General Stephen Logan. Up next, please welcome Department of Law Enforcement Director Jordan Lowe.
Good morning. As the governor indicated, we had a fireworks amnesty program this past Saturday at Aloha Stadium, and we did recover 1,374 pounds of fireworks from 121 residents. So that's 121 homes that have less of a fire hazard. So we are extremely pleased that the public is starting to recognize how dangerous fireworks are. And, we hope to continue that. Probably later on this year, we will probably have another amnesty program for fireworks. As we continue on, the Department of Law Enforcement will be this year deploying new strategies to interdict fireworks coming in from the state. And we still have numerous ongoing investigations relating to the distribution of fireworks. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Honolulu Police Department, Honolulu Fire Department, Honolulu EMS, the Department of Attorney General's Investigation Division, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms for supporting this amnesty program this past Saturday. Thank you.
Mahalo, Director Lowe. Up next, Department of Health Director Dr. Kenny Fink.
The hospitals did an excellent job in meeting the immediate needs of our community and providing excellent care to the affected patients. Due to the severity of the patients and really the extent of their care and number of patients, I was authorized by the governor to seek assistance from the military to help decompress our system, to continue to maintain the availability and capacity to serve other patients. And unfortunately, there was another event a few days later. The system worked as it should. I coordinated closely with Queens and Straub and primarily with the Indo-PACOM Trauma Medical Director. We identified the potential courses of action. I determined the course to pursue and submitted the formal request for assistance. In addition to coordinating with the military and the hospitals, the Department of Health also provided behavioral health support by sending people to walk through the neighborhoods and knock on doors to provide crisis counseling. In addition to 911, which is an available resource, would like to remind anyone who is impacted to seek behavioral support through CARES Hawaii, and can call 988 or can also call directly through 808-832-3100. They are available to meet anyone who may be suffering as a result of that event or anyone who is associated with the Maui wildfires and may be experiencing that impact with the news of the LA wildfires. So we encourage all who may be affected to seek support.
Mahalo, Director Fink. Next, I'd like to invite Straub Benioff Medical Center Burn Care Unit, Kalamai Plastic Surgeon, Dr. David Cho.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Cho, one of the burn surgeons at Straub Benioff Medical Center. I want to start off by saying thank you to all the healthcare workers helping our patients right now as we speak, both on this island and our friends in Arizona. I want to thank every hospital system involved in the night of this event, and I want to thank people who are here today in this room. Many here today made key decisions in those first crucial hours and the crucial days after the incident. Some background about the burn unit. The burn unit was started 42 years ago by Dr. Robert Schultz and Dr. James Penoff. And those two doctors realized they could create a burn unit, and this would help families stay together after a severe burn and stay on island. Since that time, almost all burns in the Pacific are treated at our unit. The burn unit is a constant state resource. We treat burns ranging from very small to the most complex and the most severe. However, this incident had so many people injured at exactly the same time, where then the need became greater than the capacity. And when this happens, we must reach out to the partners on the mainland that are part of our burn consortium, and that's what's called the Western Regional Burn Consortium. Alaska's a part of it, Hawaii's a part of it. And with our community partners here on island, we were able to work together and transfer 6 patients to Arizona. We're all very proud of this transport, and it reflects the strength of our healthcare system here. Because of these efforts, we are available and ready to serve any new burns that could arise. Everyone has questions about our patients. I can't comment on individual patients in the hospital. I can speak in general terms and tell you most are in their 20s and 30s. And the severity of burns range from fairly small to very large surface area burns, the most critical. I'll try to answer any further questions later. Thank you.
Mahalo, Dr. Cho. Finally, I'd like to welcome Chief Operating Officer of the Queens Medical Center, Alex Rowe.
Thank you and good morning. First, I want to start by sending our thoughts and prayers to the families and loved ones who have been affected by the incident. As members of our community, we wish them well in their recovery. I also want to thank our caregivers at both Punchbowl and West who cared for those with firework-related injuries, especially the team at Punchbowl who managed to receive the patients during this mass casualty incident. As you can imagine, it was a very busy night, but immediately upon getting the notification from EMS, our team stepped quickly into action, made room for the incoming patients, and it was all hands on deck. Despite not being a designated burn center, our caregivers provided exceptional care for up to 4 days following the initial response, all while Queens continued to uphold our responsibilities as the state's level 1 trauma center and tertiary referral center. Beyond the care delivered, as you heard today, there were many moving parts and a lot of individuals implicated in the coordination of these transfers and patient movement. The collaboration between the hospitals, the city, and our state partners was phenomenal. We're also very grateful to our military partners who had many members of their team volunteer on a holiday to help with the coordination of these patients to the burn center. So thank you to those who helped out. Looking back, this incident serves as a reminder that when our community is in need, our hospitals together step up and meet the challenge. I'm so proud and appreciative of our caregivers at Queens who showed so much compassion and dedication to their jobs, even in the most stressful times. They're truly an inspiration, and I can't thank them enough. Thank you.
Mahalo. At this time, I'd like to welcome the governor up to the podium, and we will begin on-topic questions from the media, starting with Ashley Zero, Hawaii Public Radio.
Good morning. What in the current law makes it difficult to prosecute these types of fireworks crimes currently, and what in the new law might maybe alleviate some of those issues?
I'll start with some basics as the Attorney General comes up. One thing has been definitions, and she'll describe that. But one of the challenges, the sheer volume, just with thousands of people having these fireworks, these aerial fireworks shows in the streets across our state. There just aren't enough police officers, law enforcement professionals to actually catch it and cite everyone, for one thing. Also, this is going to be a major enhancement if you can put these enhancements on prosecutions. Like, for example, in this case, at least 4 fatalities have occurred. If we move this up to an enhanced Class B or Class A felony, you're talking about major time in prison. And also we'll hope that those cases won't be pled down to lesser offenses. People, if they take the life of an innocent soul near them, have to be accountable, and they're going to have to spend significant time in prison. But I'll let our Attorney General clarify.
There are a few very basic problems with the existing law, and that is the definitions of fireworks and aerial devices. Right now, those definitions require expert witnesses and forensic evidence to establish that somebody actually used an aerial device or a firework. We're changing those definitions so that we don't require expert witness or forensic evidence. The other thing that we don't have at this point is any kind of infraction for having small offenses. We've only had offenses that were, for certain pounds of fireworks and so forth. So by providing sort of these low-level offenses, we'll have a better opportunity to keep fireworks off of the street with just anybody. The second thing is, in addition to the definitions, determining how many pounds somebody had becomes an issue. And so this bill will streamline some of that so that instead of increments based on 25 pounds or less or 25 pounds to 50 pounds, we're getting rid of most of those increments and having a separation of 25 pounds and up or 25 pounds and below.
And I asked the question of the team, how many pounds do they think were in that one cake bomb? And they think it was very likely 40 pounds or more, which means the combination of that size of the fireworks. Of course, there were a lot more fireworks in the household that exploded after after the fireworks tipped into the residence, but also the fact that 3 adults and 1 child were killed. You would be able to enhance that penalty, and the sentencing could then be, well, Class B, I believe, is 10 years, and then a Class A felony, much more. So we're trying to put real teeth into this so there are absolute deterrents. Best thing for everyone would really just be to go to public fireworks shows and not do any aerials whatsoever, which are already illegal.
News KITV4. This is kind of a follow-up question on that. So I just want to make a clarification. So this is on people if they're caught possessing these or these people launching the fireworks. And then I just wanted to also ask about these proposed measures to stop fireworks that are coming in apparently every day to the islands.
Yes. So, we're going to work with professionals that work at the harbors, that look at containers. Also, the U.S. Postal, there's been some discussion about fireworks that might be just in the bellies of planes, which we can all imagine how dangerous that would be if a firework went off in a plane on its way to Hawaii. But the truth is, these fireworks continue to come in throughout the year. People are buying, in some cases, 10% of a container, and they're mixing illegal aerials in with legal fireworks. Makes it difficult. But we will do what we can to bring to bear additional, support. Like I mentioned, additional dogs that can sense explosives. All of these resources can be finite, which is why we really need neighbors helping neighbors to, discourage them from doing this. When I talked to the families that were right around the one household that had the full explosion, on the one side, they said they want to help, but these are their neighbors, and they're wary about having a conflict, going forward. People across the street were completely stunned into silence. And remember, these are individuals who just witnessed fatalities from a bomb going off. I mean, I can only imagine what's going through their head. So we need all of society to say this is not going to be part of our culture any longer, and we'll just do it publicly with professionals. And again, we're open to different suggestions. We may very well trial fireworks on Memorial Day, a large celebration of fireworks. And I've even suggested that for those who are, who view this as something that they're passionate about, that we can even, with supervision and professional support, even have competitions. We can make it something special in Hawaii, but something that doesn't also endanger our people.
I'm going to bring up Tricia Nakamatsu to answer some of the more specific questions that you had. Tricia?
With regards to enhanced sentencing, currently most of our penalties are based strictly on the weight of the fireworks that were retrieved and could be collected through evidence. So as the Attorney General noted, our new definitions would not require certain types of measurements of the fireworks, would not even require that the evidence be collected, particularly important when the fireworks have already been set off or discharged, and there is no evidence, frankly, to collect at that point. With regards to enhanced sentencing, there was previously no enhanced sentencing for repeat offenders or if the illegal fireworks caused any injury or death to anyone. So that will be changed with this bill. Repeat offenders, almost all offenses, will go up one class if the offender had a prior fireworks conviction within the past 10 years, and will also go up one class if there is anyone who has suffered substantial bodily injury, which is defined, means second-degree burns, broken bones, things of that nature. It will go up two classes if anyone suffers serious bodily injury or death as a result of those fireworks. And that includes things like permanent disfigurement, impairing the person's member or organ, essentially on the verge of death or death itself. And by doing so, we feel that this will be much more of a deterrent to people. These penalties will encompass everyone all the way up from the end user to the person who purchased it to the person who sold or imported that illegal firework without a license or permit.
How many convictions there have been, that kind of stuff? Well, that I think you actually shared. Yeah, how many convictions have there been historically? It's difficult, yeah, for a few. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so one of the problems is because these definitions that currently exist, we have not been able to get convictions. We need to make it just more straightforward. When a firework goes up, an arrow goes up, there's no question about it. And so that's where Patricia and Ann are sharing is important. Everyone knows that the firework has just gone up. In fact, it's on YouTube. And we intend to use that to make our case when necessary.
So in this instance, the person that lit the firework, the person that sold the firework, and the person that imported the firework or bought the firework, they could all be charged under this enhanced sentencing?
Correct.
So don't sell them. Don't sell them.
Next, Darrell Huff, Hawaii News Now.
Historically, the people who do get convicted of this, they tend to get, this is for the Attorney General and potentially the police chief if he wants to participate. Historically, people get danked. They get deferred. And would you prevent danks in these cases? And also, how do you think enhanced penalties might incentivize law enforcement to get more bodies in the street, boots on the ground? Because it doesn't seem like there's that many people out there enforcing this on the ground. What in your program would enhance that?
I'm going to take it from the last question first. Sure. And that is, right now, we don't have infractions. We don't have tickets for low-level offenders. So that's why the police can't be out there enforcing anything, because there's nothing to enforce for the low-level folks. With respect to the charges, there's been a lot of back and forth in the press about this, and Tricia may need to come up again, but I think we currently have 2 felony convictions pending sentencing, and we have had several over the last years. We've also had several other sentences as well as convictions. So we've been pulling together those numbers, and I think that that's just our department. Mike, do you have some more information? This is another deputy, Mike Minkin, everybody.
Good morning. As the Attorney General said, there are 2 felony cases which are currently pending sentencing. These are distributors who were picked up by the Department of Law Enforcement in conjunction with the Honolulu Police Department. Those cases were brought by the Department of the Attorney General. Those individuals did decide to take responsibility, and they are pending sentencing.
Can I ask a quick follow-up? the current law has a misdemeanor for less than 25 pounds being fired almost anywhere. So you do have a crime, a misdemeanor crime, for firing off a firework of any size in a public street. Isn't that sufficient?
So as the Attorney General noted, we've never had an infraction level offense for fireworks before. The difference between trying to establish a criminal case beyond a reasonable doubt, the highest level of proof in our court system, and the difference between proving an infraction is preponderance of the evidence is essentially 51%. Much less lower standard of proof. The citations themselves can also be issued much, much faster. It does not require an officer to go back to the office to write reports, to collect evidence, to submit for testing, to do any of the, or much less arrest someone, which in and of itself would take hours. So the infractions process would be greatly streamlined, allow officers to get back on the road faster, addressing other calls, while also holding accountable those who are setting off merely a single firework or purchasing a single firework. Because we do believe that the problem goes all the way down to the end user and stamping out the demand for the product.
No, it's perfect. So you'll be seeing the number $300 as an infraction in the proposal, and we're going to submit this to the legislature and let them have at it. But I think we have seen an incredible groundswell of support to try to make things safer, and we really also want to empower HPD and the Department of Law Enforcement. This has been a discussion that we've been having as a cabinet, is how to empower DLE and find many missions, and they've been doing a good job on collecting guns, collecting fireworks. But now, as we go forward, we want to really, we want to deter people from doing this. $300 will probably send a chilling effect over a lot of young people, I would expect. But getting a major felony on one's record and doing time in jail, I hope will give everyone pause.
Governor, our next question comes from Victoria Budiono, Honolulu Star Advertiser.
Hi. So the Washington Post reported Sunday that there was evidence in the Palisades fire in the LA County was caused by the flare-up of somebody playing with fireworks. The earlier fire New Year's Eve was put out by firefighters, but apparently smoldered underground and reignited days later in the high winds. Are you aware of this report, and what are your implications to it in Hawaii?
Well, thank you for that. So, I've been in touch with the governor of California and some of their people. I hadn't seen that report yet. It doesn't surprise me, though. Remember, it was embers that affected us in Maui, right? The embers went up in the air when very heavy winds occurred. So whatever the initial cause of the fires in the embers ultimately gets, tragically enhanced by these conditions that we're facing. We had 80-mile-per-hour winds. They had apparently 100-mile-per-hour winds. Well, here's the effect. The Los Angeles wildfire looks to be about 10 times bigger than the Maui wildfire. There has been discussion about how large the loss of life will be. It's 24 people right now. We lost 102 people. There's going to be many more fatalities reported, very likely. The cost of the fire in LA is not going to be simple. It's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars, forgive me, but it's also very likely going to threaten our capacity to insure the country. It could crack the property and casualty insurance system, because you watch, someone is going to first say $200 billion, then they're going to say it might be as high as $500 billion, given how vast the fire is in Los Angeles, and I'll be the first to predict someone's going to use the word trillion on this fire. It is possible, given where the fire is and what other communities it's threatening. So this is a national problem. Interestingly, we saw it and were able to start putting technology in place, and that helps for sensors once the fire is going, or to declare a red flag warning, which is critically important. And again, thank God our firefighters and police are so on it. But if you have fireworks everywhere, imagine if not only did we have the 24 casualties from the explosion, but we also had a fire the size of the Lahaina wildfire break out at the same time. So things have just changed. What I tried to explain is that 30 or 40 years ago we were worried about a certain class of drugs. Now we're worried about fentanyl. and it can kill you right away. So we have to be more serious about it. 30 or 40 years ago, the fireworks were simply more benign, and now it can cause an explosion like this. So some things do change, and that's why we have to, just take a new position. And I hope everyone in society will understand that. If they do determine it's fireworks, imagine a $250 billion firework disaster. It's just not something society can sustain. But I'll continue to be supportive of Los Angeles. If I may, since I've got you all today, we're going to try to do a lot to support Los Angeles. And the reason is because, first, we care about people, but also they supported us. California supported us a great deal when we went through the Maui wildfire disaster. More than 40% of all the travelers to Hawaii are from California, believe it or not. And we're going to do at least three things. We're going to have some capacity to give them respite, their first responders respite, like we did in partnership with the Healthcare Association, MUFI's guys, and our DBED guys. So some respite to get away, get some free flights also from Hawaii and Alaska once the fire is put out so they can heal here. Second thing we're going to begin to propose is to give them some capacity to do their work here, which is the film industry, which of course is very vibrant in California. We will do things like waive fees, give them immediate permits if they'd like to continue some of their work before they can go back to California, just to help them out. And finally, I've begun work with 4 other states, and we'll be giving you some updates in the coming days about this, where we take the empty hotel rooms, the vacant hotel rooms, and we find out if we can string them together so people have 30 or 60 or 180 days where they can do remote work. It wouldn't take away any of our housing. It would just be very temporary. It would be paid for by the individuals or emergency response like FEMA, but it might be a way, once again, to show our aloha for those who have suffered. And we will be in partner, we believe, with at least, I've talked already to Utah, Nevada, New Mexico, and Arizona. So hopefully they'll all be able to provide some of this help to decompress the great challenges everyone's going to have. Just like we decompress some of our healthcare needs, and they were there for us, we'd like to be there for them. So these are things that we have the capacity to do because people have been so generous in Hawaii.
Valera, Civil B.
Hi, Governor. Do you expect criminal charges to come out of our New Year's Eve fireworks incident?
I would love that. I think that it's necessary. I don't know, and I'd have to defer to probably our Attorney General. I don't know if the current statute we have is going to give us the chance to file charges. What's your feeling, Ann?
At this point, I have not received an pardon me, I haven't received an update on the investigation into the fireworks that I believe is being conducted by HPD in conjunction with DLE, or primarily HPD. So after we get that information, we'll know better.
I was able to see the crime scene up close. I mean, it was shocking how much explosive was there, really.
K-Twins.
This one might be for Jordan, but we had heard that some of the shipping companies was working very well with DLE early last year and recovering fireworks that were being sent in. But then some of the employees from the shipping companies were receiving death threats. Is that accurate to your knowledge? And then also, I mean, how big of an underground network are we talking about here in Hawaii?
So first off, we can't comment on any threats that were received or not received. The only thing I can say is there is a vibrant underground network, and that the Illegal Fireworks Task Force, or DLE with its partners, will address those distributors and importers.
How many pounds did you recover over the last 2 years, Jordan?
Probably 228,000 pounds in the last 2 years.
Next question, Audrey McAvoy, Associated Press.
This is for the governor. There are some people who don't set off fireworks, but they accept and celebrate them. Do you think it's necessary to sort of try to change those attitudes? And if so, how might you try to do that?
Sure. So the question, if you didn't hear, was some people just enjoy fireworks. We all, pretty much everyone I know enjoys fireworks, myself included, when they're done safely. I think that what we have to do, and this is what I've just shared with my team, I don't know analytically if it's going to make a difference, is that we have more public fireworks shows, that we make it something special, but that it's done, in controlled conditions. We were discussing today having some barge fireworks shows in Kapolei, for example. And if you look, the fireworks are everywhere. They're in every community. There was around one Eva Park, though, pretty extraordinary fireworks that I saw. And I don't know there were injuries there, but it only takes one disaster. I think if we have public fireworks shows, which is what a lot of communities across the country do, will benefit. Obviously, if this report is correct, that out of California it was related to fireworks and embers, look, it's a brave new world then. Because what has happened is essentially a lot of the land has become parched, and you can see the embers still burning for days. And on top of that, the increasing demand on water in certain parts of the country is extreme. There are multiple states fighting over water in the West, for example. And so you're going to see more and more of these fires break out because of heavy winds, windstorms, and just, the sheer size and scope of the fireworks. I would love to see us have fireworks shows throughout the year in a controlled way. The mayor's team does an extraordinary job in Honolulu. They were very respectful and paused fireworks recently after the tragedy. But we'll want to have public fireworks shows that are safe. I can't blame individuals for loving, the spectacle of them, but they've just gotten too dangerous.
Up next, Mahealani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
Thanks. I was interested in hearing from some of the healthcare leaders as well. Were the hospitals overwhelmed because of this New Year's incident? And if an incident of this magnitude happened again, would a military lift be needed to get these patients to the continent?
Great.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the word overwhelm, I think, is a bit confusing. Nothing broke in our healthcare system here. I think that we have a certain capacity, and the need was greater than the capacity. So what we did is we reached out to the mainland, which is what every burn unit is supposed to do. Even those on the mainland are supposed to reach out to other burn units so that no one does get overwhelmed. So the mechanism prevents overwhelming. In theory, because we're part of the Western Consortium, we're obligated to help those on the West Coast. If the burn units got saturated on the West Coast, then they would reach out to us. Does that answer the question?
What was it like? What was it like that night for you personally and others on staff?
Well, I was on call, and I got called around 1 or 2 in the morning. And I was also the one on call when the Maui fires occurred. So there are some parallels, but they're different. But you should start taking care of people as they come in. And I'm proud of what happened in the sense that we worked together with the other hospitals nicely. And the EMS took the appropriate patients to the appropriate hospitals. Those with some trauma went to Queens. There were many other hospitals involved. And then slowly patients came back to us and to Queens. And at that point, we worked together to figure out which patients would be most appropriate for transfer to Arizona. But the majority of patients are with us in our burn unit. The most critical, the most severe are actually with us right now. But we have many small burns as well. I won't get into the details of how many right now or the specifics, but that's about all I could say right now.
Follow-up question in the same vein from Ashley at HPR.
With so many more wildfire incidents happening across the West Coast, including in Hawaii, is this time to kind of consider expanding our burn unit here to increase the amount of people that can come here?
Well, no burn unit anywhere in the world is going to be able to expand to accommodate for a mass casualty, which is why you have the consortium. So that's sort of the definition of a consortium, is a bunch of different entities get together and pool the resources so that they can do things that no one entity can do alone. And so I don't think that would change. I think that that's the idea of the Western Consortium.
No questions? Paul Drews, KITV4.
Before Paul starts, just remember the way also, just so people know how the system works in general, we have one trauma, hospital that's at the highest level, and then we have one burn department that's at the highest level, so Queens and HPH respectively. And then all the rest of us are part of kind of the healthcare system, right? So if you're in my case, it used to be Kohala Hospital, right? If there was a terrible injury, which happened one year where a mortar, an unexploded mortar was in a military grade mortar, what do I call that? It was a turret, basically, yes. So they dropped a firework in there, it blew up part of the mortar shell, and the firework went on. It took out a kid's face. So that child was stabilized over the course of 45 minutes and then went exactly to these facilities, for ultimate care. And because that was at a rural critical access hospital. At a larger hospital, say Hilo or Kona, where they have a surgeon on duty, they might be able to do more, and so on and so forth. So that's how the whole system works. There were a lot of injuries all over the place. Last year, I believe there were 8 terrible injuries involving hands, and people lost digits or their entire hand. So, this has continued on. The Hawaii Pacific Health folks, the Straub guys, they may have a certain number of beds devoted, but they expand and contract as appropriate. Is that fair? Yeah. And they can, we all have multiple shifts, and in that particular case, a lot of extra healthcare providers came and first helped Jim, and then came on call for other parts of the department. So it's all hands on deck, but sooner or later it does saturate capacity, and some of these individuals are going to need months and months of surgeries and care.
Going back to Paul Drews.
This is a follow-up for the AG. The Aliamanu fireworks incident, it seems like, we have video of it happening, so we know the location, we know that the effects of it, how much was there, kind of thing. It seems like it would be a slam dunk for prosecuting this particular case, but you seem to indicate that you weren't sure if that was the case. What would be the challenge with something like this when, caught red-handed, that's putting it lightly as far as what happened?
I can let Tricia come up and answer. I'm going to generally say that the video is not sufficient to charge anybody who was present at the time of the explosions.
That's correct. I believe the main answer is that, as the Attorney General indicated, if there's pending investigations still waiting final reports, then the Attorney General's office and the county prosecutors can't really do any, I don't think they can make any definitive answers until they get those reports. Witness statements, evidence, all of that plays into whether charges will be brought, I would imagine.
Against a specific person, is that what it is, or is it for this incident? Because we know that they were, I'm just wondering, if somebody comes to my house and they launch this and this happens, am I responsible because it's my house, or is that what you're looking at? I'm just trying to figure out where this goes.
Without having actual reports, it's hard to say what could be charged, but there are charges on our books already for homeowners and renters who are in control of property to be responsible for the fireworks that are set off at their house or stored at their house. So those types of charges do exist. There's always issues regarding whether the state of mind, there's a certain amount of culpability or responsibility, whether they can meet definitions, whether there's evidence or witnesses to support those charges. But it really will just depend on what's in the reports.
Which is why we're going to hopefully simplify the description and what's needed to convict people. And we agree. The common sense approach, where we can see where an explosion occurred, we want to do the full investigation and then charge people to set the standard. so it doesn't happen again. It would be, I think it'd be safe to say that people do not want to go to jail because someone else launched fireworks from their house, or they want to make sure that they are careful about who rents their property. And then we will encourage individuals to, to share with us who's been doing it over and over. Some people from this and other places have said it happens every year at the same houses, and they at least have to put enough pressure onto their neighbors to not have any more fireworks shows. Tragically, that might be too late for these four people.
Final question, Victoria Honolulu Star Advertiser.
Kind of piggybacking on what was said before for clarification, could the new law that is being proposed allow for the use of automated enforcement methods like police drones to identify the violations? Would the new law allow for, like, similar to Oahu's red light cameras where you could just cite people? Is this something that's doable, and would the governor support this?
Again, I'm going to let the person who spent the last 2 weeks poring over this legislation to answer.
That's currently not contained anywhere in the bill. If automated enforcement were to be used, it would have to be some sort of special program, a new program initiated by law enforcement, perhaps in conjunction with other branches.
And to answer your question, yeah, I'd have no problem with it whatsoever. If we can find a way to collect data with new technologies, that's great. In fact, I think technology is probably going to be necessary to meet the sheer volume of what people have been doing. And without getting into details, because we don't want any of the criminal element to have any cues, we are going to be using some new technologies with the illegal importation, to stop the illegal importation of some of these fireworks. So there's a lot to be done. I will basically wrap this part of the press conference by saying, in order for us to really succeed in keeping people safe, we're going to have to choose to talk to the people we care about, talk to our neighbors, and just decide not to have aerial fireworks be a part of our culture any longer. Small fireworks, okay, I suppose, and aerial fireworks, they should be used by professionals in very, very safe spaces, because I worry about the explosions and I worry about the fire. And frankly, neither of them are risks worth taking. So please, everyone, think about the families that will have to live with this forever. And it may not at all be your fault, probably not, but they are going to suffer terribly for now on. And as a healthcare provider, I've seen just too much of it. So please help us, help us to turn the corner. Hawaii is the most extraordinary state. But it should not be extraordinary because people go online and see our fireworks shows on New Year's that are illegal. It should be extraordinary because of our beaches and our people and the spirit of aloha. Thank you.
Mahalo, Governor. This formally concludes today's news conference. Ahui ho.